All right, we'll give it just one more minute here, but I'll put up what we're learning today. Give everybody just a minute or two to join in, and then the party begins. All right. Looks like we got everybody hear me, by the way? You guys can hear me? My volume on? I haven't been too successful at making sure that's on.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining today. We are going to do a little Quizlet Live review. I'm going to show you a couple of different things, just a couple short videos. These are like I think they're like 5 minutes, okay? And all it's going to do is supplement what we're talking about in the lectures. Now, I just put the other play pause it on there. Now, the Civil War lecture part 2, play pause it, I'm not making that due until the week after we come, or excuse me, the week that we come back from break. Okay, so it's not even like due on Monday, Tuesday. It's due on Wednesday, Thursday. So for this group, it would be like due that Wednesday. I'll start putting those in the grade book that Wednesday that we return. But I didn't want to give you anything over break. I want you guys to take some time off. I want you to be, with your family and not have to worry about this type of stuff. If you're behind, and take it as an opportunity to get caught up. That'd be awesome. I know that we have a fair amount of you that still need to get your Flipgrid stuff in, but please take this time over break just kind of recharge. I think we all kind of need that. So anyway, let's hop right to it. I want everybody to go to Quizlet.live right now. We're going to play 3 rounds of this so that we can be ready for that term quiz here at the end of the hour. Got to reshare my screen now. One sec. So that we can see what's going on. Come on. All right, just 40 seconds or so, then we'll hop to it. All right, here we go. And they're racing. Here we go. Big term quiz today. Gonna be a riot. Wow. Round one goes to the Dolphins. Here we go. And they're racing. Round two. Neck and neck. Wowee. Caleb, round two. Nice job. All right. This is it, folks. This one's for all the Tostitos. And they're racing. Wow. Nice job, kids. All right. So that is all that's all we need to do for reviewing. Yeah, we reviewed our terms. Okay. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about something that kind of occurred simultaneously with the American Civil War. So, little quiz to start out here. Okay. True or false? There has been a war on Minnesotan soil. A war on Minnesotan soil. Or true or false, the largest public execution in the United States occurred in Minnesota. Hmm. Hmm. Well, I want you guys to watch this short video here about a little connection between the American Civil War and something called the Dakota War or the Sioux Uprising, depending on what your perspective is, okay? So give me just a second while I play this video. All right. Well, sorry for the uplifting video. But you can see that, like, technically that you could even consider this to be kind of a part of the American Civil War, in that Lincoln considered it to be a part of the Civil War itself. So a couple little nuggets in there. If you ever wondered where the name Henry Sibley came from, you know, what's that all about? I see that all over the place. You saw the Mankato connection, largest public execution in American history. And Lincoln, you know, during the Civil War, he sure did a heck of a lot of pardoning as well. So you'll see that there. You know, depending on your perspective on this issue, though, if you were to take the Lakota side and say, well, wait a minute, these people had their land stolen from them, and they weren't coming to grounds with any type of meeting, and people were just settling in an area that they didn't technically own. You know, what would you have done? And then others have looked at it and gone, well, wait a minute, they behaved themselves very, you know, they committed murder against these settlers. Tough to find, you know, a completely black and white, like one side was completely right and one side was completely wrong. As most things history related, you guys will tend to see that it's typically a shade of gray. So next part that I want you to have an understanding about, especially when it comes to the American Civil War, is this right here. First, I'm going to show you this. This is going to have, I'm going to talk for a decent amount today in your play posit lecture about this guy right here, William Tecumseh Sherman. William Tecumseh Sherman's March to the Sea. What he did, okay, was his thought process was, we need to break the South in half, both literally and figuratively. And I'm going to do that by punishing the civilians of Georgia. He wanted to win the hearts and minds of the people in the South by bringing the war to the people. Now, those of you that are interested in this type of thing, maybe you could answer your next flip grid on it. But, like, does this violate what became later as the Geneva Conventions? Is this is total war, the total war that he brought to the people of Georgia, was that justified? Because on that march, you know, he did some pretty unforeseen events. You know, he heated up railroad lines, tied them around trees, destroyed plantations, confiscated all kinds of stuff. You know, was that justified? Okay, so I'm going to show you one more video. Got to mute myself.
After Lincoln's re-election, Sherman set off on the campaign which would be called his March to the Sea. He would implement a tactic that he had started before but never put into full use: total war. His army would march from Atlanta to Savannah, where no army stood in their path. They would take little supplies with them, but collect their own and burn and destroy the rest. He planned to burn and destroy his way through the South, bringing the war home to the civilians and breaking their will to fight. Sherman's army set off on November 15th, leaving Atlanta in flames behind them. Sherman ordered that nothing the Confederates could use be left standing, but the rear guard decided to burn down the entire town. It was a fitting beginning to the campaign. The army marched in two columns on different roads, altogether about 62,000 strong. The only thing standing in the way of Sherman and Savannah were 13,000 men, many of whom in other circumstances would have been considered unfit for service because of age. They attempted to make a stand at Griswoldville, charging across an open field, but they were easily defeated by Sherman's veterans. 1,100 Confederate men were lost, many of them boys and old men. Sherman's men met little resistance, and they were able to leisurely complete their work of destruction. Each day they destroyed a section of Georgia 10 miles long and 30 to 50 miles wide. They systematically tore up the railroad, and then heating the ties until they were bendable, they bent them in a hook around a tree, leaving Sherman's neckties, as they were called, scattered around the state. Sherman's orders were for foraging parties to be sent out to collect supplies for the army without entering into homes. Violations of these rules were often overlooked.
The skill and success of the men in collecting forage was one of the features of this march. Each brigade commander had authority to detail a company of foragers, usually about 50 men, with 1 or 2 commissioned officers selected for their boldness and enterprise. This party would proceed on foot 5 or 6 miles from the route traveled by their brigade, and then visit every plantation and farm within range. They would usually procure a wagon or family carriage, load it with bacon, cornmeal, turkeys, chickens, ducks, and everything that could be used as food or forage, and would then regain the main road. Often would I pass these foraging parties at the roadside, waiting for their wagons to come up, and was amused at their strange collections, mules, horses, even cattle, packed with old saddles and loaded with hams, bacon, bags of cornmeal, and poultry of every character and description. Although this foraging was attended with great danger and hard work, there seemed to be a charm about it that attracted the soldiers, and it was a privilege to be detailed on such a party. Daily they returned mounted on all sorts of beasts, which were at once taken from them and appropriated to the general use. But the next day they would start out again on foot, only to repeat the experience of the day before. No doubt, many acts of pillage, robbery, and violence were committed by these parties of foragers, usually called.
Sherman arrived outside Savannah on December 9th, having marched through the heart of the state of Georgia. He found Hardee entrenched there with 10,000 men. Sherman made contact with the Navy, ensuring that he would have supplies and artillery necessary for a siege. However, Hardee, instead of waiting for the siege, escaped on December 20th. The march to the sea was over. 300 miles of railroads had been destroyed. $100 million in damage had been done. $1.4 billion in modern dollars. Thousands of horses and cattle, 9.5 million pounds of corn, and 10.5 million pounds of fodder had all been taken from the citizens of Georgia.
We are not only fighting armies, but a hostile people, and must make old and young, rich and poor, feel the hard hand of war, as well as their organized armies. I know that this recent movement of mine through Georgia has had a wonderful effect in this respect. Thousands who had been deceived by their lying papers into the belief that we were being whipped all the time realize the truth and have no appetite for a repetition of the same experience.
Sherman's actions remained very controversial. For many years after the war, the name of Sherman was hated in the areas through which he marched. Even many of the slaves hated him, for they were hurt as much as anyone else on the plantations, and many of those who tried to follow the Union Army died along the way. The war affected every civilian in America, through the loss of friends and family, and to the economic problems which affected everyone. But Sherman's actions brought the military sufferings of war to the women and children of Georgia, inflicting scars that would remain for generations. Sherman's actions were immoral according to the Bible. The Old Testament law says that armies must not destroy the fruit trees of the land. God intended that the land not be destroyed so that it would remain productive. During the Civil War, every army, North and South, violated private property. Most commanders issued orders against it, but they enforced those orders to varying degrees. Sherman was different. He was intentional in his destruction. Although his soldiers took his orders beyond where he had written them, they can hardly bear the blame, since it was his strategic design for the campaign.
Okay, so General Sherman's march through the sea, still controversial even today. You know, did he go way too far? Should he have? I mean, because, you know, depending on your perspective here, I mean, this is war profiteering. His troops were going in and taking stuff and sending it home and, like, you know, stealing horses and doing all that stuff. Or was it that, no, drastic times call for drastic measures. This war has been going on too long. We need to end it right now by taking the war to the people of the South. So kind of for you to decide there. But as I said before, the second play posit is available now, okay? So what we're going to do here is, in a moment but not yet, I am going to open up the quiz, okay? If you have any questions, you want, oh, I don't know, I suppose if you have any questions about submitting a Flipgrid, or you're just confused as to what's going on, or whatever it might be, please stick around. I'll be here for a little bit. So I'm going to open up that quiz here. Is there anything else that I'm missing?